Yes, indeed, and thank you for that. We're joined now by Dr. Tokunbo Adedeji, who is of the Professionals for Change. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, now we focus on the suspension of the DG of NIA, the suspension of the SGF. We do know that that panel headed by the VPs to begin their sitting, and we understand too that the public, well, maybe public will appear, some persons will also feature. You've been going through how that is going on. How does that come off to you in a fight against corruption?
Well, to the extent that it's a step in the right direction, that the general public is getting to know a number of the rot that we have had in the system, it is good and it is salutary that these issues be pursued. However, we must all remind ourselves that it is not just a question of doing wrong or accusing someone of doing wrong. You must be able to prove that the person has done wrong. Therefore, there is the course of the law that must be followed. Now, under the present circumstance, we have seen a number of cases go to court and lost in court by the federal government. And therefore, I would imagine that the federal government wouldn't want to make same mistakes again. What they have done in this instance of the NIA DG is to ensure that they follow the due process. I think where their hands are tied with regards to the NIA DG is simply because he came up to own that that money found in Ikoyi belongs to his organization, and it was meant for a covert operation. Once you hear that, then you have to be a little careful. May be true, may not be true. That's why there is need to find out internally. That's why they set up that committee internally, right, to be able to go through that process.
Do you believe that the process should continue behind closed doors?
I would think so, because of the nature of the issue of the DG. These are people who in other climes are faceless. You don't even know who they are. That particular organization, they remain faceless. Therefore, at this point, it is good for us to understand without emotion the direction these things are going. There are certain things that may be said there that are meant for internal consumption.
So how does the public get to know that really and truly that money did belong to them and it was really meant for covert operation?
I would want to believe that the position of the vice president is in line with the position of the president with regard to corruption. And therefore, he would follow through with that determination that if it is true that this is a corrupt practice, it will be exposed and the person will be made to go through the process of investigation before they even go to court. Because I want to believe that if we make mistakes, we should learn from our mistakes. If you do not properly investigate an accusation, there's no point in you going to court. Because, I mean, you lawyers know that you get to court, he who alleges must prove. If you do not have enough evidence to prove, so it's not just enough to go there and accuse the person.
One would have expected that when the NIA said this money belongs to us, the case should have been done with. I mean, it should have been classified. Why
the circumstance under which the money was discovered raises a lot of questions. Is the vault there? In the private apartment, is there a vault that belongs to the NIA? So those questions are the issues that will come up in the panel that is investigating internally. And once they find out that there is no concrete evidence to show that that money is to be used for, quote, covert operation, then perhaps somebody has done something wrong.
So as someone who's just watching things from a distance, you see how they responded swiftly with that of the NIA DG, and then also saw how the handling of that of the SGF. What impression do you have?
See, the SGF works inside. He's already in government. They know where he is. He comes to office. They know where he lives. So it is just a question of walking to him in the office and saying, look, there's a question you have to answer. It doesn't have to be anything public. It is a process.
They said that it was up to him to decide whether he wanted to stand aside or stand down while the investigation happens or not.
Well, to the extent that sometimes you look at the determination of government. How important is that person to the government? If his position is something that is sensitive and they need to retain him there, they perhaps will be able to say, okay, we'll investigate you. You see, let me be honest with you. Sometimes we forget that there is a prerogative that whoever appoints you has. He has a prerogative to keep you in office. He has a prerogative to ask you to go. You can't take that prerogative away from him because it's a constitutional prerogative.
But when there's an allegation against that person, to the extent that the legislative arm, the Senate in this case, seems to be shouting on top of their voice that we have found something amiss here. And then nothing was done until recently.
Allegation.
Yeah.
He who alleges must prove.
They didn't prove in the cases of some of the DGs and MDAs who were removed of their offices. They said they had allegations, so they had to stand them down.
Yeah. I said the person who hires you can fire you. That's his prerogative. It's a constitutional prerogative. And to the extent that he could use it, he may shy away from using it.
But at the same time, they also say justice must not just be done, it must be seen to have been done.
Good. There is a cost for that. You go through that process. If I feel dissatisfied with what has been done to me, I head straight to court. A lot of people go to court and they get victory in court. And I want to believe that government is being careful at this point to ensure that whatever it is they're doing, they look through the books and ensure that they're on the right path so that if anybody goes to court, government will not be vilified in court.
So if they've looked through the books and seen all of those, why didn't they refer it to the police or the anti-corruption agencies? Why a panel?
If they look through.
If they had, because now that we're taking this decision,
yeah,
it suggests
they're
that
looking
they have.
through right now with the panel. They're looking through. The report of the panel will be able to say, yes, this is something that can be investigated by EFCC or the other organizations that have to investigate. You see, we shouldn't forget one thing.
We'll be back in a moment. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that when we return.
Yeah.
Join us again.